Squawk! This rewrite will attempt to create believable character motivations for Rey, Finn, Kylo, and Luke, have a characterization of Luke more consistent with the original trilogy, show what's happened in the universe since Return of the Jedi, make better use of Poe and Finn, give an origin story for Snoke and the First Order, explain why Rey is so powerful, tell the story of Rey's parents, fix Leia's Mary Poppins scene, create a better use for the casino planet, give Captain Phasma a cool scene, create stronger reasons for Luke isolating himself on the island, maintain a consistent theme of symmetry, particularly about evil being within good and good being within evil, maintain an overarching story structure that incorporates elements of the prequels in the original trilogy, give the story somewhere to go in Episode 9, and do all of that while maintaining the core plot of The Last Jedi in a cohesive narrative that works on several thematic levels while still subverting expectations with some twists and turns. Can we do all that? Well, we can certainly try. Quick disclaimer, filmmaking is hard. I want to give credit to everyone involved in the making of The Last Jedi. I am in no way claiming to be more talented than the people at Lucasfilm, because it's much harder to actually make a film than it is to go on the internet and complain about it. I am by no means a professional, my audio quality is all over the place, my image layout looks like an 8th grade PowerPoint presentation, so who am I to criticize The Last Jedi? A lot of people, especially critics, did like the movie, and I thought it set up a lot of interesting concepts. That being said, obviously a lot of fans are unhappy with the way The Last Jedi turned out. The Force Awakens wasn't perfect, but it was solid enough, and most importantly, it got people interested in Star Wars again. Sure, it was more or less a shot-for-shot remake of A New Hope, and it basically undid everything our heroes accomplished in Return of the Jedi, but people were willing to forgive all of that because they were just excited to see a decent Star Wars movie and figured future films would explain the missing backstory. So, when the other films failed to deliver on that promise, I think that's when fans felt taken advantage of, that they invested their dollars, time, and faith into a story for which there was no grand plan, making it clear this was all just an empty cash grab. Which is a shame because many fans, myself included, felt there was so much potential for the franchise after The Force Awakens. So, in my rewrite, I'm going to keep Force Awakens pretty much as is. And, because this is a rewrite and not a fanfiction, I'm going to try to keep as much of the story structure of The Last Jedi as I can. Meaning, the basic plot structure will consist of Rey training with Luke, the First Order chasing the Resistance through space, a side mission to the casino planet, a climactic fight in the throne room, ending with a dramatic battle on an alien planet. Approaching this logically, let's ask ourselves, what does this story need? First, we need to answer a few fundamental questions fans had after Force Awakens. Probably the number one question was, how the hell did we get here from Return of the Jedi? We all assumed after the Rebels won, they would found a new Republic, found a new Jedi Academy, and have peace for years to come. So how did everything get reset to an underdog resistance versus a militant empire? If you're gonna basically undo everything accomplished in the original trilogy, you damn well better explain why. Or just be the rise of Skywalker. 2. Why did Luke give up and retreat to a faraway island instead of fighting the First Order? This is one of the most iconic characters in movie history, a hero who embodied hope and persistence. If he's gonna sideline himself from the main conflict, again, you better have a damn good explanation. 3. We don't know a thing about the major groups driving the plot. Where did the First Order come from? What are their goals? Why is there both a Resistance and a New Republic? What are their goals? Answering these fundamental questions would go a long way towards giving us the movie we want. What else? Well, George Lucas himself said that these stories are like poetry. They rhyme. They shouldn't be identical, but there are similarities, so let's try to incorporate some elements of the original and prequel trilogies. Next, what should we do with our main characters to make for an interesting and engaging story? To start, let's look at Rey's character arc in The Last Jedi. In her first Force training session with Luke, she immediately gravitates to the dark pit, despite Luke urging her to resist. She starts having Force Skype conversations with Kylo, quite literally fraternizing with the enemy. After one of those sessions, she ignores Luke's directives and enters the pit, risking succumbing to the dark side because she couldn't resist the allure of finding answers about her parentage. After she finds out Luke turned his lightsaber on Ben, she fights him, knocking down this old man with her staff in the thundering rain, even pulling a lightsaber on him. Finally, she meets Kylo Ren in Snoke's throne room, a moment the movie specifically builds up as a critical turning point where either character could go either way. So, on a good-bad continuum, her progression through the story looks something like this. Kylo is heading in the opposite direction. He continues his arc from Force Awakens, where he's questioning his commitment to the dark side, again feeling tainted by the light. Snoke himself confirms this in his first scene with Kylo Ren in the throne room, where he chastises Kylo for being weak. Immediately afterward, Kylo casts away his helmet, the symbol of his desire to be like Darth Vader, which, keep in mind, is supposed to be the crux of his character motivation, one of the main reasons he turned to the dark side in the first place. He's on the other end of those Skype calls with Rey, showing some gravitation towards her in the light, and then, when he's supposed to attack the Resistance ship and kill his mother, he hesitates, leaving his wingmen to take the shot instead. And then most obviously in the throne room scene, Kylo kills Snoke, saves Rey's life, then immediately teams up with her to fight the First Order. There is literally no other sequence of events that could have telegraphed more loudly that Kylo has turned good. But the question is, why? Why did Kylo decide to turn good in this moment? And why did he suddenly choose to return evil immediately after? See, this is the part of Disney Star Wars that people find frustrating. Things just happen. There's no reasoning why, no character motivations explaining why characters act the way they do. This is all the more surprising considering in Disney's other movies, they do a phenomenal job of conveying their characters' motivations in a short period of time. But anyway, Kylo's character arc looks something like this. The whole movie, Kylo is trending towards good, Rey is trending towards darkness, and these arcs intersect in the throne room scene, the most important scene in not just the movie, but the whole trilogy, where Snoke is defeated and everything hangs in the balance. And then both characters do this jarring about face where they revert to how they just were, with no character motivations explaining why. There was a real opportunity to do something interesting here. We all expected the defeat of the main villain and the redemption of the antagonist to occur at the end of the trilogy, not only 1.5 movies in. Now that the primary conflict has already been solved, the franchise could move in a brand new direction and do something it's never done before. If we just follow the character arcs that have been set up the whole movie, the natural progression would be for Rey to turn evil and for Kylo to turn good. You want to talk about subverting expectations? How about not just turning your antagonist good and your protagonist evil, but both at the same time? I know this is a big ask. It's a pretty radical departure from the characterizations in The Force Awakens. But, if done well, it doesn't have to be. We can write them with internal motivations that are consistent with how they were in Force Awakens. Rey was not evil in Force Awakens, so she's not going to be evil here. That's just not who she is. Her actions will still be guided by what she believes is right. Kylo's switch isn't as difficult because his whole arc is about being tempted by the light and doubting his commitment to the dark side, but we need to give reasons why he makes the decisions he does. As it is, The Last Jedi ends exactly as it began. Rey is our hero who's inexplicably strong with the Force. The Resistance is on the run, being pursued by Kylo Ren and the First Order. Nothing changed. The whole movie might as well have not happened. Which is a huge letdown considering the title itself suggested radical change. Just hearing it makes you think the Jedi are going to end and the franchise is going to do something different and move in a new direction, which it absolutely had the opportunity to do. Instead, it's sameness to the extreme, reverting the story not just to the status quo, but back to its own beginning. Without any story progression, there's no reason to watch these movies, no reason to stay invested. They're just pretty pictures moving on the screen. Now before we get to the rewrite, a few pitfalls. There's a fair bit of flashbacks and time jumps, things that are typically not used in Star Wars, but with so much of the backstory still unexplained, I felt they were necessary. Next, I couldn't squeeze in much of an arc for Poe. There was just too much that needed to be done for the other characters, so he kind of fell to the wayside. If you have an idea of what to do with him, please let me know in the comments below. There's kind of a poetic symmetry to Kylo and Rey switching sides. Maybe symmetry can be one of the themes of our rewrite. Like yin and yang, there was good in Kylo and evil in Rey. Maybe we can expand the theme to be, there's good in the bad and bad in the good. People rightly say the Luke from The Last Jedi was nothing like the Luke from the original trilogy. If we want our Luke to be more like original Luke, it would help to ask ourselves, what was Luke's defining characteristic from the original trilogy? He was optimistic and persistent and hopeful, but above all else, He always saw the good in others. He saw the good in Han when few else did. He saw the good in his father when no one else did. But notice, Luke's philosophy of always seeing the good, even in bad people, lines up perfectly with our theme of there being good in the bad and bad in the good. It works simultaneously for both Rey and Kylo's arcs and defining Luke's core philosophy. So let's let that be the defining theme of the movie. There's good in the bad and bad in the good. That one theme is going to inform nearly every one of the story changes we make. And that is why this story is called The Balance of the Force. It's all about symmetry. Symmetry between good and evil, symmetry with both other trilogies, symmetry in the plot itself. There's a lot of moving parts, but like a puzzle, it's all going to come together in the end. I promise. Thanks for taking the time to watch this introduction. I hope it convinced you to stick around for the full story. If you're ready, click here or on the link below to move on to Act 1. Catch you in the next one.